Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at the weather next week to 10 days in today's video. It's going to take us to the middle of December. We'll go up to the 15th of the month with this update. It's quite cold at the moment. We've got final day of cold weather in the south. Tomorrow will still be quite cold even in the north, but be a bit milder in the south. What you're going to notice over the next few hours, I get a lot of fog as milder air starts to infiltrate from the Atlantic. It's been cold for quite a few days now, in fact, a couple of weeks. So we're going to find as this milder air starts to move in, could create quite dense fog patches overnight tonight and into tomorrow. But eventually that will all get out of the way, and by the middle part of the week we'll be in a mild airstream. And then from there it looks like we're staying mild up to the middle part of the month. So I'll show you what's going on in a second. Before I get on with that, just very quick to say about the ads. There's links to articles on all pages. Have a browse, widgets, click through links. If there's any articles that you're interested in, you're going to be having this page website. Thanks very much for doing that. The Christmas shop is open, so if you've got any Christmas shopping to do at Amazon between now and Christmas, just click the green button that says Christmas shop, and then that takes you to our Christmas shop page. From there you click through the Amazon banners, go and do your Christmas shopping at Amazon. Because you've gone from Gaz Weathers to Amazon, we get a review fee on the things you're buying, and a big thank you to everybody for doing that. It's been a huge success again this year, so big thank to everybody for doing that. Right, going to start off with the situation in terms of the fog overnight dialing into tomorrow. This is the high resolution Euro 4 model from website Weather Online. Come link to Weather Online on the links page. And this is showing visibility. So where we've got this red area, we've got very low levels of visibility, and that's particularly across Wales, much of the Midlands, central southern England, and into East Anglia and South East England. That's where you have a risk of dense fog over tonight and into tomorrow morning. That fog could linger well on into the day. Tomorrow, actually, if we have a look at situation at 9 o'clock in the evening tomorrow, for example, this is 9 o'clock on Tuesday evening, you'll see that again it's looking very, very foggy there, particularly across England and Wales, very poor levels of visibility. So some places could be stuck under fog all day. Sorry, we don't tend to get a huge amount of fog these days, but this does look like quite a foggy episode that we've got coming up here. If we go out to 48 hours ahead, and this takes us to 6 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday, then you'll notice that the fog is beginning to clear. Although even then, there are fog patches around, producing poor levels of visibility, but gradually it's starting to go on Wednesday morning. That will be the trend through the course of Wednesday. And then after that, we don't really have to worry about fog, because we'll be into a milder Atlantic sort of flow by then. But if you're off out and about tonight or tomorrow, particularly across England and Wales, do take care if you're driving around, because it could be a little bit dodgy on the roads with that fog. So these are 500 millibar height anomaly flow charts for the next week to 10 days. We've got the ECMWF here on the top. The GFS, have a look at it in a moment, is on the bottom. 500 millibars, 8,000 feet, is an area in the atmosphere where high pressure, low pressure are being moved around by the jet stream running above. Blue extrapolates to low pressure, and red and orange to high pressure. So ECMWF for next week, 10 days, or in a week to 10 days time, which takes us to the 15th of December, is placing an area of above average heights over the country. Quite a weak one, but it is there, with a trough out in the Atlantic. So this looks quite an Atlantic driven flow, with the jet stream doing something a bit like that. Now you notice this trough in here over northeastern parts of Europe. That will be bringing a real blast of winter in towards western parts of Russia, and also got quite a lot of red up here over on the Pacific side of the poles. So that's blocking over there. And it's possible, just possible, that this ridge here might start to inflate and move towards this blocking feature. If that happened, it could set up high pressure just there, and then we might start to move as we run up towards Christmas into something colder. The idea for December has always been that, although we have a fairly cold start, opening days are quite cold, actually the first half is fairly mild and a little bit Atlantic driven, and then we look for something colder to come along later in the month. That might be indications that that is a possibility. Now the GFS is much more unsettled this morning, so that ridge that the E70F is placing over us is actually across southeastern parts of Europe in 7 to 10 days time at the middle part of the month. And we've got this very deep trough in the Atlantic, but it's just bringing in a bit of an Atlantic attack there. That does look very unsettled. There'll be quite a lot of heavy rain coming in, that maybe fairly strong winds as well. Notice that area of red is further over towards the Pacific side of the North Pole. So that's quite a way actually from producing anything cold and blocked, although this area just here again is a cold trough that's down into northeastern parts of Europe and western Russia. But for us that does look more Atlantic driven, and it's quite a way away that from doing anything notably cold. These are the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles, upper air temperatures. Of course, the red line here is the 30-year temperature average. So we are above average at the moment, but it's still quite cold down on the surface. Over the next couple of days, we're going to warm things up as we turn the flow into the Atlantic. So this area just here, but it does look very mild, that we will realise the potential with that. And we're going to see temperatures going up into double figures quite widely across the country from Wednesday onwards. A little bit of a cool down comes along at the weekend, but then going to the start of next week, we start to lift those temperatures up again. Beyond that, this is 15th of December just here, so this is the second part of the month. You'll notice there is a cooling trend, but there's a lot and lots of scatter in there. Just look how warm some of the ensemble members are, but also there are several members that are really very cold. Some quite bitter ensemble members are within the pack. They're not well supported, they are outliers, but certainly as going to the second half of the month, the potential, no more than that, but the potential is there to produce something quite a lot colder, I think, as we run up towards Christmas. That doesn't mean that we will realise that potential. It just means that the atmosphere is set up in a way that could evolve into that kind of a scenario. And the models, or some of the ensemble members of the GFS model, are seeing that potential. But of course, it's one thing having potential, and it's another thing to realise that potential. The key thing with cold weather in this country is that we have to get into the cold scenario. Once we're in it, then we can run with it, but it's getting into it that's very often a problem, because various things can happen along the way to scupper it. These are the temperature anomalies for the next week. It is going to be milder than average week from the 5th through to the 13th of December, so we're going to be above average, not just for UK, but for many parts of Europe as well. There's that cold trough up there in the north of Russia. Here's the precipitation anomaly for the coming week, and that also looks drier than average, so mild and dry basically sums it up. So this is the GFS for Friday, bringing up this southwesterly flow. Got high pressure inflating across many parts of central and southern Europe. If you want a cold winter pattern, you don't want to be seeing high pressure around here, because when you get that, you'll get low pressure out to the north and the west, and the upshot will be that you drag the winds up from the central part of the Atlantic, from the Azores, from the Canary Islands, places like that. So it's going to be mild and mostly dry in the south, but a little bit of rain probably up in the north. Over the weekend, we find this low pressure rolling in over the top of the ridge that's across Central Europe, so that could bring quite a band of rain across the country through Saturday, Friday night and Saturday. By Sunday, we're into sunshine and showers. Now, you notice we are trying to build a little bit of high pressure to the north. It's quite weak, and this low pressure in the Atlantic looks like it's probably just going to flatten this ridge attempt off. But if this low pressure was to stall in this sort of area and send warm air advection up into Greenland, then it's not totally impossible that this weak area of high pressure we see just here might start to inflate and become a little bit of a blocking feature. It's not totally out of the question that that could happen. I suspect that those cold outlier members that we saw on the GF Ensemble probably do something along those lines. However, this particular run of the GFS doesn't see that, and actually just rolls the low pressure in off the Atlantic up to day 10. It looks generally quite unsettled. Again, it's not a classic zonal southwesterly type scenario. It's not like we had last year in December 2015. It's a much more subtle pattern than that, but it's still a broad idea with low pressure being up here and high pressure being down here, meaning that the flow generally is off the Atlantic. But you notice it's all looking a good deal weaker compared to the classic zonal conditions that we tend to see in this country. The ECWF, so on Friday we're bringing up this southwesterly flow that looks very mild indeed into weekend. It turns a bit cooler on Saturday with a band of rain moving through the country. Sunday and into Monday it turns a little bit cooler. This is a bit different compared to the GFS. So what we do is we move this trough across Scotland on Sunday, which turns the winds into a cooler northwesterly flow, and then we build a ridge behind that. So actually on Monday I should say, week away, 12th of December, this ridge will probably be quite cold, and it could be enough actually to be producing some frost. That sticks around into Tuesday before eventually again it starts to slip over towards southeast Europe and the Black Sea, and we begin to re-establish milder winds off the Atlantic. But again, you notice it's not a classic zonal onslaught by any means. It's just very gently going back into sort of unsettled westerly type conditions. But it doesn't look the sort of Atlantic type onslaught that we had last winter and the winters before that. So we've still got the same idea that we've been playing with over the past few days, which is turning it milder this week. A few days of very mild weather. Into weekend turns a little bit cooler up behind a band of rain. I mean, next week, quite an uncertain sort of pattern, but overall it still looks relatively mild and Atlantic driven, and it's into the second half of the month that we're still looking out to see whether we can pull off some colder weather then. We may not be able to, because we are going into an Atlantic flow, and once these Atlantic westerlies get established, they can take a lot to break out of it. But what we see with the ensembles is that the potential for that colder weather in the second half of the month still remains, so it's just going to be a case of watching this space. Okay, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.